Hey y'all. I was going back on this video. Hold on, I don't have these on. Oh no. Ah! Jesus. I still am doing my makeup, so I gotta finish. I feel like this is like piercing through and I have it barely on the preamp, but it's fine. Let's see. Maybe I can do echo cancellation. Hold on. Oh, it is on echo cancellation. What about there? Let's do it midway. Oh. Anyways, I was going back on this video just to see where I should start it, and they started talking about free will. Me and Sartain talk about free will. I think, hi Sartain. Next time I see him, I'm assuming that's going to be our next topic of discussion. We love that shit. Okay.
AI them the rest of the this is everything's going to be different.
And
like,
the thing is, if you cover
There's AI women versus real women, and then it goes into free will.
up with enough B-roll, you can't even tell that he's not talking. It's crazy.
even just in 100 years, like you said, like,
I don't think 100 years. I think it'll be 10 years.
No, that's my point. Is
Yeah.
like there's I do a lot of like sightseeing and going into cool places, and they'll be like, oh, in like 1901 this was the thing, and I'm like, what are they going to show in like an Apple store? Be like, this is what they used to do.
Yeah.
Or like a regular Disneyland versus like a virtual one. Like, people are going to be crazy.
You know what they're going to show? They're going to show this like this creepy cardboard box out in the forest and be like, this is where we used to put porn back in the 1980s. We used to hide it and go out on our BMX bikes.
And all the tourists are going to like walk by after they paid like money to see this. Like, that's things change crazy fast, especially with technology. So I agree.
Okay. Something I would love to just do an entire episode with you is the concept of free will.
Oh, yeah. I don't believe in it.
Well, I don't either. So I don't know. Do you have an
I
opinion
didn't know
on this?
that.
Have you ever had a discussion with her about this?
Actually, we have. I think we talked about like Sam Harris's book on free will.
Yeah.
So I think I agree with him.
I haven't read Sam Harris's book. What does he believe?
It's the really, really small one. It's
Tiny.
just called Free Will. Is it Robert or Richard Sapolsky? Robert Sapolsky, I think, just came out with that book, Determined. That's the one I'm reading now. It's really good. It's like a longer version of that.
Okay, so the argument against free will, I'm just going to...
Robert Sapolsky's book goes into every single argument made against the concept of free will or whatever, and he tells you why there is no instance of it. Goes from everything to like philosophical, quantum physics. Yeah, there's more, but just okay.
Bring it up. A lot of people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, you think that you have choices, but your choices all fit within a small, narrow range that aided in your survival somewhere down the line. This is why people have a fear of heights. Like, you can't make, you can immerse yourself enough with heights to where you can get over it. But your default setting is to have a fear of heights, a fear of snakes, and an aversion to the smell of sulfur. Most people are not born liking the smell of sulfur. That means that there was programming in you, just like when a deer falls out of its mother's womb, all of a sudden it can walk on day one. That means there's evolutionary psychology that had to exist in that animal for it to walk on day one. Does it make sense? Already pre-programmed stuff. When they look CAT scans, fMRIs of people, whenever they ask them a question, there's this moment where the thoughts are collecting before the thought is actually. So they ask them, when did you have this thought? And then they actually see that there was neural activity before the thought happened. So you think it was your thought, but you don't recognize that your brain was putting together the thought before you thought it. And then when you talk to mentalists, I had Max Major on here, and he was showing the power of subliminal thinking, like how basically he had this picture of a sun that was drawn right here while they were all over the image, and he was telling these people, close your eyes and draw an image. And like thousands of people drew the image that was there, didn't even realize that they were looking at it. When you think about the concepts of subliminal messaging, when you think about the concepts of everything that we have psychologically had to aid in survival at some point, and when you can show fMRI scans showing that your brain is coming up with ideas before it even happens, and you just realize that we're just hairless murder apes that are fucking subject to stimulus, then it's really hard for me to believe in free will.
I mean, Sapolsky does the whole, even if you take anything in isolation.
Wait, Sartain, are you lying? Are you telling a fib? Last time I checked, he thinks there's some free will. Did I change your mind?
isolation. It doesn't kill free will on its own. But when you take everything, when you take your neurons, your genes, like your ancestors' genes, everything that you're in, like everything, psychology, neuroscience, like there is no room for free will.
Yes.
Like there's nothing that anyone should actually be praised for or condemned for.
Yes. So
it's really insane.
Now I still do believe in morality. And like I still do think
it serves a purpose, but I don't believe like it
it certainly serves a purpose.
Yeah,
if we don't have morality,
deterrence,
exactly.
like all that. Like, of course, you need it. Honestly, I don't think our justice system should even. But the idea of I want this person to suffer because they're a bad person, I think, and it's really hard, even when you know that. Like, yeah, if somebody like kicks me, I'm gonna be like, fuck you.
Yeah,
but
so
I have to like really rationalize
this is an extrapolation from the free will discussion, which is the concept you said this on one podcast. Should people deserve to die? And I don't know that people deserve to die, but sometimes they need to die. And what I mean by that is someone.
If you guys are interested in these topics, there's a lecture from Yale University, and there's what's his name? I can't remember the name of the teacher. I can find in a second once I finish this point. But he lays out all of these questions you should ask yourself when trying to construct like a worldview, I guess, to put it simply. And I remember we covered it one time. We reacted to it. I can't do it because I get flagged for copyright because certain universities, most of them do that. But whenever I listen to some of the debates that people send me before I write up a debate for them or something, I'm just sitting there thinking, have these people like taken a class on this stuff? Because it's not something that I think you can learn online. Like most things you can. But I mean, I'm sure you could. I just like when you're looking for, I don't know, like a topic that breaks down all of these concepts, I haven't found one except for this lecture, arguably. It's a privilege, okay, to be able to look at these lectures from some of these like top tier schools or whatever. This is so annoying. But I remember in a couple debates that I would watch, people would do the trolley dilemma, for instance, which he talks about. And it's crazy to me that people still will look at the trolley dilemma and pick what scenario seems the most fitting. And like the whole concept of it is there's never the right time to take a life. Never. Ever. Crazy. So then when you get into the concept of like self-defense, that's like a new thing. New and not new. It's like a social construct, I guess. I mean, it all kind of is at this point. But he was just saying, oh my God, he was just saying, is there ever the right time to take a life? And he's saying, I don't think people should die, but some need to die. And if I had to steel man him right now, I'm assuming he means put them in seclusion in the garage. You know what I mean?
Is attacking my mother at that point. It doesn't matter how I feel about you. You need to die because you're attacking my mother. So there's sometimes like, I had, you know, Mike Rashid is the fitness influencer. Mike Rashid comes on here one time. You know, he was running from the cops for 8 years because he shot a guy 7 times in the back, killed him. He was a homeless person who ran into Mike Rashid's house. This was before Castle Doctrine was initiated in Arizona. He shoots the guy. The guy is bleeding out, goes up the balcony, falls out. His wife and kids are inside the house. He's like, dude, I dumped on this dude. As soon as this crackhead goes into my house with my kids, I'm shooting him. Yeah. He shoots him. Then he runs from the cops. And 8 years later, a federal marshal finds him, goes back to trial in Arizona. And they said, because of Castle Doctrine, we can't find you guilty because you defended yourself. Beforehand, even the police officers were like, dude, there's no reason you should be found guilty for this. But this is something that happens. Some people don't deserve to die. I agree with you, but they need to die. And that's one of the issues. And as far as the deterrent rehabilitation, but like in the Old Testament, we're just sitting here trying to punish you. I don't know. Like
I don't believe in that.
Because if that was the case, then we wouldn't have the death penalty, because the death penalty is actually a mercy when you consider I'm going to live with schizophrenia, psychopathy. I'm going to even Jeffrey Dahmer talked about he would hear people talking to him. I'm going to let you live with that rather than put you to death. Putting you to death is a mercy. in that case.
Yeah, and that's, I think Sam Harris says, is you don't get any credit for not being a psychopath if you're not a psychopath.
Yes.
Like I basically look at life as just people who are lucky and unlucky. So I think Jeffrey Dahmer was just really unlucky to have the set of circumstances that made him want to eat people. I don't think I'm a better person for not eating people.
I think you are a better person for not eating people, because there is in some place. So here's the thing. Like, for instance, our culture is designed by our biology. Whenever we get into the nature nurture argument, if you talk to an evolutionary psychologist, they'll be like, you're right. You are influenced by your society around you, but that society was created by your biology. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but your biology. So I think Saplinski does a really great job because he's funny. He uses that experiment with the buttons, and they tell you, and then he goes, okay, but the problem is people are just looking at, oh, that 20 seconds before. Then you look at a few minutes before. Then you look at a few hours before. He talks about like the hungry judge phenomenon. The number one predictor of the type of sentence you get is how hungry the judge. Like, it's so many things are affecting so that you have no control over. That to ever look at someone, like, it depends what you mean by better person, but I don't think anybody was. I think a bad person is just really an unlucky person.
I think so. Here's what you would do. Here's how I would say. I would say, because of my biology and my culture, of the three of us in this room can probably, and probably most people we know, it's like, are we doing things for the betterment or the detriment of society?
But you can't control if you're going to do either one.
But let's just take that statement on its face and then just say, okay, nuclear war. It's probably not helpful to society. We can agree on that. So we can start with some level of baseline. We're like, okay, we know children are very impressionable. Touching them in any kind of sexual manner before a certain age, we can probably all agree that's probably something. So we can start to narrow and chisel away, like, within the society that we've created through our biology. There's this window of things that we should find acceptable. Now, you as a Democrat and me as a Republican, we can find very different things because of my belief in God and your atheism, whatever. But my point is, there's so we start with that point, and then we start moving closer and closer, and then we get to basic things like.
Somebody had said to me, like, well, if free will doesn't exist, then the whole society is going to go chaotic and start harming people. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, they're not. Nothing's going to change. Literally nothing. Crazy when you think about it.
You shouldn't steal. You shouldn't lie. And you shouldn't murder people.
Yeah,
and then from that,
questions, right? There is like, so like, for instance, Sam Harris, the same person, he does the well-being, he did in the moral landscape. Like, what's good is just well-being, right? You can say that, but the question is moral condemnation. There is probably a useful, like, reason for, like you said, like deterrence, whatever, but I don't believe anybody is actually like responsible for being a quote unquote bad person.
I think it depends on how you define responsible. Yeah, if you extrapolate it back to its origin, you are correct. Like, well, none of us are responsible. But if you take it a little bit further, you're like, okay, here's the thing. We let you live. We gave you life. The world gave you life. You live in this society. The society has taken care of you, bred you to all these different kind of things. And in so you, because of the Magna Carta, the man making arrangements with other man to govern themselves. At some point, you have to say, within the society, I need to stay within these bounds, or they have the right to take.
Of course, me out. That's why I said the system, with free will or without free will, the justice system, maybe not every part of it, but largely looks the same, unfortunately. It's just, you're unlucky. You're unlucky if you went and molested little kids and now you're in prison, because I don't think you chose that. But also, sorry, you got to.
So I know other people's religions. I hate this thing. Hold on. Support the channel so I can get a new mic. It's like $500. Whew. It's fine. I'm fine. What was she saying? Hold on.
Be fucked for that now.
Yeah. It's still, but when we take on the betterment of society, the person who did that, still the world is better off with them being in jail. Right. Yes. You were saying there were 4 reasons. One of them was like, the fourth one I think you were missing was the protection of society.
Okay.
Like keeping the murderer away. So there is keeping the murderer. There is sentencing the murderer to punish him. There's sentencing the murderer to rehabilitate him, and then there's sentencing the murderer to keep him from murdering.
And deterring.
Yes. And deterring others from murdering. So those are like 4 different. Those are the 4 different things that happen there. Okay. Awesome. I love the if you talk to evolutionary psychologists, this is where it gets really nasty. And by the way, when you talk into Evo Psych, I'm Evo Psych first and not red pill adjacent. This is the thing that's most important to me. When you talk to them, one of the issues they have, and Gadsad put this so succinctly, he said, people on the left do not like the concept of innate sex differences. And you don't seem to have any problem with that. No. But you've seen people on your side of the aisle that have serious problems with innate sex differences. People on the right don't like the idea of evolution.
Yeah.
So you have this one study in psychology that has probably the most replicated.
There's some that don't. Dropping shit.
Data of any study of psychology, and it is hammered from both sides of the political.
Oh, I was gonna
and I would
say,
like red
I was gonna
they don't like the
say
idea of
the thing about religion. Oh, I forgot.
overlap in the differences.
For sure.
And there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
And there's like, no, men are like this, women are like this, done. And that's too simplistic.
When you consider, like, I'll give you an example. When you consider Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan on his insignia, it's a picture of an ape, right? Literally discussing, like, he talks about hairless murder apes, discussing the concept of evolution. He's had Gad Saad and Steven Pinker on there. Why did it take 25 years for him to have David Buss on? And the reason why is because he was getting, like, this is the most underrated player in the game. This is the Paolo Banchero of fucking the NBA. Like, nobody, evolutionary psychology to me is so incredibly underrated in the things that it can describe for us if we use it correctly. And we understand that it's describing, but it's not telling us how to live. I think that's the issue.
Yeah. And also just realize.
Well, it's obvious why people don't like it. And sometimes it could be used to substantiate certain beliefs they have, fix false belief.
And it's not the strong, because unfortunately all of it's bottom, it's what is it, top, because you can't do like a study, right? So it's not as solid.
Oh, you're talking about because I can't look at what Genghis Khan actually did.
No. What I'm saying is that
Evo Psych always gets a lot of shit, and the process it had to go to become like a science was so rigorous that it's always so bold when I see people start to say maybe she won't. I don't know.
Evolution, I think, is at the center of almost everything we do, but
She's
it's
probably
very,
not.
very hard to study actually, because you can't have like a control group. You can't have like,
For
you're literally looking at, okay, why do we have a pinky? I don't know. And then you're coming up with all these different, like, you know, are we monogamous or are we, okay, well, we could look at, you know, body dimorphism. We could look at different things. We could look at ball size and this, and we could say we're maybe in the middle, but a
lot of David Buss's claims come back non-conclusive too, which is, I feel like a lot of people don't know that.
We can't actually know because we can't do a control group. We can't do a study. We can't have a sample size. We can't have a peer reviewed.
So the thing,
it's a lot of guessing.
You can't have it peer reviewed. And the thing, like, for instance, when it comes to parental investment hypothesis, this is a concept in evolutionary psychology where in any two gender species, the gender that has more parental investment is always the more selective of the two genders. And there is no,
the one with the larger gamete in humans, eggs, that's women.
exception to this.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, this is evolutionary psychology. Do we know why this happened? We can guess because of evolutionary forces. Can we prove it? No, because we can't go back in time. But the reality of the situation is, here's where it gets to the point. Like, do you understand gravity is a theory, right?
Yeah.
I know all the flat earthers, their penises are getting hard. Like, listen to me say this. Gravity is a theory. We've never detected a graviton. We've detected a boson. We've detected a fucking photon. We've detected the three other fundamental forces in physics. We've seen them. We've never seen a graviton. Gravity is a theory.
What?
At some point, I can't keep saying, you know, I don't have enough data. I don't have perfect information. At some point, I have to build a skyscraper and not jump off the balcony.
Exactly. And there's as much evidence for evolution as gravity.
Yes, agree.
However, there's variety in how like, for instance, consensus. So like there's pretty much a consensus on why we like salt, why we like sugar, but there's not a consensus on whether how monogamous or not monogamous our species is. There's a lot of different evolutionary biologists, psychologists who are all being like, well, you know, maybe we went on 2 feet at this time. When we stood on 2 feet at that time, maybe we did it because of this. Maybe we did it because of that. Maybe part of the reason was STDs or this is like, there's so many different reasons as to why, and they disagree with each other. So there's less of a consensus on certain things in evolution than others.
With monogamy, though, specifically, it's not just evolutionary psychology. It's evolutionary psychology, biology, anthropology, and archaeology. If you look at all of those together, what we find is that we were living in hunter-gatherer tribes. Once we had the agricultural revolution, you had some men who owned more property than others. You started seeing a little bit more polygyny. And then from that point forward, then once we had encouraged monogamy through Islam.
What about, something I would say to Sartain, if he brought that up, I would bring up, okay, what about all the people that farmed? Because like it seems like when we talk about history, we go to like harems and sultans and the Ottoman Empire, and it's like, okay, can we like go a little bit further down the line? Like, what about when prior to like the Industrial Revolution, like we had the wheel, we were on a farm, it was a lot of work, like. And it makes you wonder, does all of that still line up? No. because it wasn't like polygamous. It wasn't like one man had a bunch of like Amish wives. Like that's how I picture this in my head. Forgive me. I don't know, just something to think about.
Judaism, whatever the religion was, part of what religion did was encourage some level of monogamy. Then the men in the bottom quartile actually got one wife.
No. Okay, so you're right. What I mean more is like this pair bonding idea. Like that's even like something that they disagree. Oh, how much of a pair bonding species are we?
Compared to other, so there are 5,000 species of mammals, 3% of them pair bond. And compared, like when you think of the deadbeat dad trope in humanity, compared to monkeys or cats, they're not deadbeats. Like male parental investment in most mammals is like zero.
Yeah.
Really
and
annoying.
so compared to them, also here's another thing. We think that men are whores and they just fuck anything. They'll fuck a watermelon, whatever. Actually, if you look at cats, dogs, whatever, they will legitimately fuck anything of the opposite. Women are more selective than men, but men are more selective than other primates, primates, other species, other mammals. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like you look at our closest cousins, and there's still such a difference in how we are and how they are, and we seem to be so much in the middle when we look at all these things. Like, okay, we seem to be kind of pair bonding species, but also not. Seems like we're serial monogamous. Like there's so much going on there. So I don't think any of the red pillars who are doing this clear cut, oh, we're this, we're that. This is how all men are. This is how the
I think the best
men are just here to spread their gene. That's not true.
I think the best description would be it is a lifetime of polygamy interspersed with different periods of monogamy. And whether or not we were monogamous or polygamous, and I think I heard William Costello talking about this. It depends on, so like in very harsh environments, like for instance, Sherpas in the Himalayas, because there were so few women compared to men, you had multiple brothers marrying one woman. So this would be a polyandrous relationship. So I think the answer to your question is it depended on what the survival scenario was.
That's true, but also like some of it's just like universal. Like some people say the shape of the dick is because we did used to engage.
Okay, so hold on.
Like, there's all kinds of crazy shit.
So that comes from a book called Sperm Wars, and which has been totally debunked.
Yeah, that's my point.
Sex at Dawn and Sperm Wars, throw the shit in the trash. There's nothing in those books.
Yeah, that's my point though. But there's certain things like, okay, did we engage in sperm competition, or were we more like gorillas? That how like so
bonobos? You're talking about bonobos.
Yeah,
bonobos actually.
So there is all this different. So what I'm saying is that it's hard. There's no way for us to test that. It's more like we need to find out more.
Right.
We need to it's like dinosaurs. How can we do a study on them? We really need to find more shit on
what you're saying is great. That's evolutionary biology. And so there's two theories you're talking about. One is the difference, the dimorphic difference between men and women indicated how much men competed with other men for those women. So elephant bull seals are 10 times the size of the females. And because of that, they murder each other. And in doing so.
A tournament species? Yes. Is that what they're called? Tournament species?
In killing each other. They actually kill a bunch of the females because they roll over them. Have you ever seen them on the beach?
I saw that,
And the females are dying. They're getting crushed by the males. With gorillas, they're 6 times bigger than the females. Homo sapiens were 15% bigger than the females. So, meaning we were competing with other men, but we're also competing with predation for access to females. And so there's a difference, but there isn't that big of a difference. The other one was it was the ratio of the body to the penis size. And like the bigger the penis size, the more there was sperm competition, the smaller, like gorillas have
like balls actually.
Yeah, it was testicles and penis. The same thing with the gorillas. Gorillas were like these, they were fucking 1,000 pounds with like a 2-inch, with like a 2-inch penis, and they would have sex for like 1 second.
Versus chimpanzees.
Right. Well, because the gorillas competition happened, it was a physical competition where he would murder another alpha
that's
gorilla.
My point. So there's tournament species, and I forgot what the other one is called, and we seem to fall.
We fall in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. That's why there's 8 billion humans and 400,000 elephants. Whatever our evolutionary adaptations have, as soon as Homo sapiens picked up the spear, we are the top of the food chain.
That's our brain.
Yes, because of our brain. But that was the adaptation. That's the adaptation that puts us ahead of every other species.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the when you consider humans versus elephants, lions, and tigers, we are slower than them. We have less. We take on more damage than them. We're more afraid of pain than they are. All kinds of things. They have massive physiological, dude. Most dogs can outrun us.
Yeah,
you understand? An elephant can run 35 miles.
We're
slow and weak, dude. If you shot an elephant, it'd be like fuck you.
We're not even that cool yet. When I hear about dinosaurs ruling for 150, I'm like, we're such little bitches. Like we're probably gonna die out.
So mammals about 178 million years, hominids about 3 million years, Homo sapiens about 200,000 years. That's about where we are.
That's literally nothing when you look at
right
like compared to like dinosaurs and shit.
Correct.
150 million years, I think they were. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, they were out there for 150 million years. Huge change in a subject here, because I want to get back to this with Farah. The craziest things guys have offered you, because this is something I want people to understand. It's like
good.
When we have these shows and people are like, these guys are all simps and like no. And I keep trying to explain to these men, it's like you have no idea how many desperate men are out there that are willing to just do whatever. What are some of the craziest offers that you've gotten from people on social media? You said mention once some guys offered you $75,000 or something like that.
More than that. I feel like there's a lot of Arab men who have a fetish for Persian women, and since a lot of other Persian women don't want to like ruin their lives and do what I do, I feel like I have the market on them, so I get like a ton of crazy sex offers.
Yeah.
I've gotten people trying to buy my virginity, but I think they're capping. Like they'll say like, "Oh, I'll buy it for $1 million," but I'm not gonna like ask for bank statements. So I think they're just saying it to get a DM. So I don't think it's a real offer.
Somebody trying to
That's
match
crazy.
my
I feel like mine are
freak.
just because they've already like paid so much that I feel like they have like crazy amounts of
Farah,
money.
there's a huge debate about your virginity.
It's riveting, yeah.
Isn't it riveting?
What side are you on?
Huh? I'm on the side of whatever you want to do, Farah.
What?
Wait, I thought the debate was about the legitimacy of it. Now.
Yes.
Oh.
Do you believe her?
Huh?
Do you believe her?
So I can see how it could possibly be that way.
There we go.
But not because you're not attractive, but because you come off as a little bit introverted. And I know some girls that like, again, have you ever talked to a girl who had a problem with alcohol and she went to AA and she hadn't had sex with a dude in like 3 years? Have you ever met girls like this?
No, I haven't.
I meet girls like this all the time. Like they live in LA, they go to AA. My friend CJ Sparks, she's been sober for 3 years, and she introduces me to other girls in her AA meeting, and she was like, "Yeah, I fucked like 50 dudes when I was drinking, then I stopped drinking, then all of it went away." Like if you keep yourself out of those circles, you're just like less likely to have sex.
Yeah. I don't know if that she.
So
can
I'm
explain
saying,
her-
Farah, like,
Jordan Peterson talks about this too, whether you like them or you don't like them, but alcohol is like the biggest precipitator of sexual activity to take place or something.
I would say maybe that was
I'm
your
in an
situation.
alcoholic circle.
Are you in the alcoholic circle?
No, I'm just very picky.
She is.
Oh yeah. 55%. I don't think that you're a virgin. 55, 45.
I'm always open to do a polygraph.
Okay.
She loves polygraph.
I mean, you can do polygraphs, but like you can fool a polygraph. That's why they're not
No,
legally allowed.
Farha thinks that
No,
they
but
are
if
the
I
end all
failed
be
it,
all.
if I failed it, everyone would be like, "See, it's proof she's not a virgin." So I think
Right.
if I passed it, people would have.
Like
to
I could
expect
give
it.
you, I could show you 2 YouTube videos and you could beat a polygraph. It's not hard. I used to work in counterintelligence. Like it's not difficult, but I'm not
So
saying
how
that.
do you want to check? Do you want her to?
I can't.
check her
I don't
hymen?
want to
Like,
check. No, the thing is,
Check her
the
hymen?
thing is, I don't want to check. I want you to be happy. I want both of you to be safe and happy. I don't give a fuck. Like do whatever you want. And by the way, if that is your shtick, good job. Like that was like pretty fucking smart.
I wish it was. It's not a good shtick because it rules out that I'm not being fucked on my OnlyFans. It actually probably hurts my OnlyFans, but
I've seen girls do really well.
She
Caitlin-
does really well.
Yeah, I've seen girls do really well and they don't do anything like that. It's really one of these weird things where it's like too much guy girl actually seems to hurt after a while. Like progressively, you get less money per guy girl video you do, but like having one guy girl video behind 2 paywalls is like kind of the key with your husband or whatever. Oh, I guess I was going to ask you this. You are filming with one guy who's your friend.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're in a one-sided open relationship.
One side.
now.
So
He's closed. I'm not.
but do you see other dudes?
Yes, but I don't have sex with them. But I might eventually, because I take a long time to have sex. Like I'm my body count's like 7, so it's not like. So I like take months to get to know someone, and I can do that process while I'm dating him, but he can't do anything. And then he's basically like, yeah, if you ever find a replacement for me, I understand you're gonna leave me. But that's not like every night I'm going out and fucking other dudes.
That's crazy. I mean, that's not crazy. You know what? That sounds judgmental. That is unusual. That is outside the spectrum.
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
not.
so
But I'm an alpha male.
now
What am I
can you
supposed to-
tell me how did you come to this determination? Like when you're sitting there, you're drinking some wine by the fire, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, I won't fuck any other women, but you can possibly fuck other dudes."
Well, it's funny because he was fucking a bunch of women before, and I think he just doesn't like it, and he just like fell like madly in love with me. But I was like, I don't want to invest in you because I don't think we're good like long term. So I need to be able to date other guys. And he's like, well, I still want to be with you, blah 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 blah. And he's like, well, I don't want to date anyone else. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really, because it's like easier if he doesn't date anyone else because then like I do have like some feelings
Safer.
for him, and I'm like,
You know.
okay, well, either we can not be together and we can just date other people, but I don't want you to date, but I want to date. He's like, fine.
Commentary from Farah. What do you think about this?
I applaud it. I think it's beautiful.
So you are legitimately in a polyandrous relationship.
Yes.
Farah, what about you don't have to be specific, but any challenges when it comes to dating?
No, people always think OF is like a hurdle in it, but I feel like it's actually like up to my sexual
Wait,
goals
wait,
for
wait.
people.
Nobody's thinking about the OnlyFans, were they? I was thinking there's a huge issue in dating when you don't fuck them right away. What are you talking about? Come on.
It
Like
is
I
so
feel like I get a
interesting.
lot more people wanting to date
Okay,
me now.
there's so many people who are going to watch
the
this and are going
ego.
to be very angry
I
that
feel like she's coming from the ego. I don't know. It's like, why? Gotta wake up like I have nothing to defend, you know?
you said this, and motherfuckers, you need to listen to me. I'm trying to explain this to you. You have this belief in your mind. Like, if you don't want to date her girl who's on OF, good. Don't date one. I probably recommend it. Don't date one. What I'm telling you though is that you need them to suffer because you don't like what they're doing. You are only fucking yourself. That it doesn't work. You not liking the fact that she makes money on OnlyFans is not getting your dick wet. So stop. Like, it just doesn't fucking help. That's the point I'm trying to make.
This is why he's one of the good ones.
No, but it's true.
True.
It's so pointless, guys. I'm just trying to explain to you, like, you're not going to change the world. It's just not how it works. Now, here's the thing.
Sitting around and waiting for us to suffer. Sorry, we're probably just going to be rich and happy forever.
So both things can be true. These girls can still have a lot of partners and not suffer, even though it bothers you. And at the same time, there are people in the red pill space who are telling you.
I understand what you're saying, Sean. Like, the thing that I try to emphasize is that this was always a pattern of mine. It's not like a new thing. And I think that makes it, this mic, support the channel. I think that's what changes it. It's not like a matter of what dude is there. It's like, I've just always been that way. So, and I'll like try to reassure and like flirt, be feminine, whatever. But I think it changes it when you know that's the pattern they've been in the whole time.
Pull up, get your fucking gym on, do that stuff. And these guys are getting in the gym and they're actually meeting women that they want to date. Like, people don't know this. Myron does a show on which credit cards to get in order to build up your credit. He owns 17 houses right now. He teaches people how to do real estate stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that goes along with it. But the problem people have is that once he does after hours, then it becomes 304.
What do you think is why does he get so much more views on? It's because this audience, a lot of them want to just watch it to see women suffer.
Correct.
That's why I didn't even know. A lot of people don't know he does that for a reason, because people don't watch it.
By the way, the first person to agree with you on that is Rollo. Like, we've had 3. Hold on. Tiana.
Does that mean that they were talking shit before the show?
Jacqueline, we had Lisa Song Sutton, and then I have Lauren York coming on, and then probably Emelina Adams. They're all 4 Miss Nevada. They're 4 previous Miss Nevadas. They have been on my show, and I've had guys on the chat calling them ran through hoes. And I'm like, bitch, Miss Nevada is a ran through hoe? Like, I just don't know. There's nothing we can do to make you happy anymore. Like, we literally have girls who will come on here, and it's like, I'm 21, I've been with one dude, and I'm getting married. And it's like, what a fucking whore. And like, guys, I'm just trying to explain to you, like, there's 2 things going on in this world. This is one thing where it's like there's conflict. And look, listen, you probably enjoy it too. We watch these crazy ass videos. There's like 304 feminist gets destroyed by red pill, whatever. We watch these videos. There's this part of like shaming, and then there's this other part where men are improving, and I'm only interested in this. I'm only interested.
But the problem is how much of your audience is only there because of that part.
But at some point you can change them.
That's a good thing though. That's a good thing if your audience is predominantly doing that and you have the ability to change their mind.
At some point we can influence.
But I don't think like Myron's doing that by doing after hours and making all these girls go around the room. And I don't think he's contributing to that by doing this, but he is contributing to his pockets and our pockets and getting more views. Like, how many more times you need to do, like, he can't just do the other thing because he would lose so much income, because there's a lot of people who just want to come see him do after hours. I don't watch your show as much, so I don't think you're doing like a similar thing as him.
It's so funny. But that's the point. I know full well I only have 140K and he's got several million, because what do? I sit there and source fucking published papers, and like I have Harvard people come on here and fucking physicists, and people are like, yeah, but you didn't call her a bitch.
Yeah,
so like,
exactly.
And like the other part is, if you guys ever do come on our panel show, Access Vegas, like I know all the girls, so like we'll talk and I'll be like, hey, so this situation with your boyfriend, and sometimes they're telling the truth, sometimes they're not. But one thing I wanted to do different with my show is like I actually know them. Like, it's not one of these things where they're just random people. I just know hundreds of girls, so I just have them come on the show, and I think that provides something different. My audience then does transfer into guys I want to coach. But people who are 13 years old, spurgs that are fucking mad as shit because you're making money on OnlyFans, they don't convert, so I don't give a fuck about them. I'll be honest with you, and I totally agree with you. It's like one of these things where if I totally was against OnlyFans, the reality of the situation is it's not going away. So you bitching about it does nothing. It provides no value whatsoever,
other than value to us by by boosting our platforms and making us more money. So keep going. I don't want the red pill to die. I don't know what we're gonna do. The only sponsor.
The only sponsor is the red pill. That's pretty funny. You actually did mention this, the girlfriend experience being unhealthy. This kind of goes back to what we talked about before. It's like men going a little too far, or is it men going a little too far into the OnlyFans experience by having a girlfriend experience? What
I think it's literally unhealthy. I think looking at, I didn't even know how crazy streamer like communities are. I think all parasocial relationships, like I think you need to just get off the internet and have real friends. And I actually think sitting and watching.
There was new data that came out about parasocial relationships, and they found that parasocial relationships are actually pretty much the same as in-person human interaction. Like it didn't like it had the same positive effects. I was like, wow, okay, so we're friends.
Even watching any streamer for 10 hours a day is horrible.
Yes.
Like all of it's bad. It's not just
I started eating on my streams because I watched Destiny do it. I was like, this motherfucker has a shit. Have you seen the chef will come bring him food? And I was like, and he's been on for 11 hours. I was like, and I felt bad. I was like, I have to be like all
See, that's my point. Like his community, like I'm not
he's
like
all
of them.
He's sitting there like half asleep with a shotgun in the back, eating fucking oatmeal while he's sitting there typing.
I literally have no one as crazy on my OF as I've seen like these streamers community. Yeah. Like I've never had anything like
the Kai Cenat community.
They're crazy. Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't think any of that is good. Parasocial relationships not good.
Okay. Do you have any opinion about the girlfriend experience? Is something you've tried?
Yeah, I mean, I offer it. I don't think it's that bad for men. I think like as long as you have everything else in check, like there are men who want to be single because they want to like build businesses and stuff, but maybe they don't just want to like masturbate or like go see a stripper. Maybe they also do want some level of intimacy without the commitment.
Now, does the girlfriend experience then? I know for you, you're going to say it does constitute cheating if your boyfriend did it with some other girl.
Yeah.
Did he tell? Is he hiding it from the girlfriend? That's the question. I mean, the question is, does the girlfriend know or not know? If she doesn't know, yeah, it's a little weird.
But you would, even you knew or didn't know, you'd still think it's cheating.
Yeah, I would consider it cheating.
Even if you knew, even if the girl knew and didn't care.
No, he's asking for me
for her.
personally.
Yeah. Even for me, like, I mean, yeah, that'd be weird. Like if he didn't tell me.
No, but here's the thing: your dude can't go see other people.
Yeah, he can't. No.
And you can. And so, what if he tries to have a girlfriend experience with a girl on OF? Would that be cheating?
I would ruin him. He would die.
He's watching right now. He's scared. I do want to ask you guys about like in general dating advice. Okay. So this is the thing, like what is a good piece of advice for men and women? The place where my program differs from almost anybody else is that I heavily focus on the concept of mate choice copying, sexy sons hypothesis, and pre-selection. And I'm just curious what you guys think about this concept in general, which is the idea that women are attracted to men that other women are attracted to, and that being something that can overcome height, looks, money, almost anything. What do you think?
I think there is some truth to that, but I think now are those women going to, because that might get you initial attraction, but it's like, what are you trying to land? A long-term healthy relationship? Maybe just trying to get a bunch of girls. So then one girl, like I think a girl who's choosing you because other girls like you might be like, oh, he might be interesting. And that's happened to me where I'd be like, oh, like all these girls like him. Let me talk to him. And I was like, oh, never mind. He sucks. These are weird girls. Like, so.
I think from my standpoint as a man, what I want is
as many options
as possible that women are attracted to you. Not that you sleep with all of them, because I have some clients that are Muslim, I have some clients that are Jewish or Christian, and they don't want to have sex with a bunch of women before they're married. But I do think it's unhealthy for them to then think, well, I don't even want to attract women. Like, no, I think you still need to be able to flirt, even if you're a good Christian man. I think you need to be able to do that.
Yes, I agree with you, but I also think like that's like obviously the woman that other people are going to find, the kind of man that other women are going to try and find attractive is probably just attractive. Like he's probably they're not. If all these women are like, okay, I see this sometimes where a bunch of women are like, oh, I like this, but usually it's because they're famous or something. I'm like, no,
Great point. So TCU did a study on this, and they used control samples. So it was the same guy with women, without women, and they used different heights, different facial structure, whatever. And in every case, the women found men who were in pictures with women, specifically when the women were smiling, to be more attractive than women who weren't.
That's true. But I'm saying in real life, that guy, I mean, what are you trying? Are they just going to have fake women, or are you telling them to just be more attractive so other women like?
I'm telling them. I'm telling them to have hundreds of female friends. That's what I'm telling them to do.
Okay, yeah, I feel
like telling them to go out on a regular basis. Like you guys understand, like the three of us went out totally platonic, and we go on stage to see Deadmau5 at fucking Zook one night. We go out there, and I'm like, there's a girl that I think is really attractive, and I go, Jasmine, I want to go talk to that girl, and I tell Farah, and you guys walk up there with me, and I was like, hey, how you doing? This is my friend Jasmine. This is my friend Farah. the likelihood of her rejecting me, turning away from me, not giving her number just plummets.
Yeah.
It's just something I've seen anecdotally. And then the data came out and it showed that this pre-selection idea was real.
I agree with it. But I just say in real life, like you said, a lot of friends, female friends, I think is a good one. But I was just wondering how you work. Like, do you just like hire women and have them be in a picture? I feel like it has to be authentic.
Some people have done that. So the trick, what I found is the difference between lascivious and attractive. If you show approval and compliance, then that tends to work. Meaning the woman's hips are slightly turned in towards you and she's smiling. And by the way, you know how you can fucking change that? On Face App, they have a little thing where you can change if she's smiling with her mouth open. Have you seen this before?
No, but like that's it. Like if I knew
I'm not saying you do that. I'm not saying you should do it.
Like went to your coaching school and then like learn that he just have a woman with her. I would literally, even if I was about to marry him, I would dump him. I would be like, I'm so unattracted. My pussy would be dry forever.
For sure. I totally understand that. But at the same time, it works like incredibly well. Like it does. And the other issue was like the number of women that told me that they wouldn't sleep with Bilzerian. It was really interesting. So I'd hang out at Dan's house sometimes. We'd have like a party or whatever. And there would always be some girl be like, yeah, I like Dan, but I would never have.
No offense, Sartain, but he pays the women. I would know. It's like, it's known now. Maybe pay it. I think of it kind of like when people buy followers or subscribers. It's like that could not incentivize, but that could make somebody subscribe to you because it's like, oh, other people do. It's the same idea. So in terms of sex, it's like he allegedly pays for women, whether it's through his so-and-so company or it's the assistant bringing them. Guys, clubs also pay girls to like $5 to $20, maybe more now, to just go to the club to like make men spend money because more women are there. Like, it's just like, sorry, Sartain, he's not as cool as you think.
Have sex with them, and that's usually what they said right before they had sex with them. And it was just one of these weird things where it was like,
I'm telling
no
you,
matter how much pre-selection I saw, it doesn't seem like it ever hurt him. It hurt him with women. It hurt him with women who liked him, but not with women.
That's why I don't care for him at all. When I got that email, I was like, ah! Funny.
Who didn't like it?
I think, okay, something that I think is attractive is a guy who has a lot of options but doesn't use them. Like something is gross. Like if a guy is using it and then he's like not, I think selective men are attractive.
So this is why I said the difference between lascivious and attractive. Yeah. A man being in a photo, like I've been in photos with girls where the girls in the photo I was clearly just friends with and stated that this girl was my best friend. And I still got likes from prettier girls from that. And girls actually telling me later that they were attracted to me because of that. Like Kylie Myers is my main wing girl when I was single. And she's a stunning blonde who lives in Nashville. And when I was single, I would just be like, I think that girl's pretty. She would walk up there with me.
Easy, Sartain. I'm gonna kill you. I love Kylie. His girlfriend.
And it was a fucking rap. It was a rap every time. So I'm just curious. Do you have any opinions when it comes to this concept?
If it's organic like that, like if my male friends ask me like, hey, can you come up with me to talk to this girl? That's fine. What I find annoying is that a lot of my male friends in Miami, I'll notice they're like, if I'm like dressed really well or whatever, they're like constantly just feigning this like closeness for their Instagram stories. And I know that they're doing it for social proofing and it makes me kind of resent them. So that's what I worry about like with advice like this is like they're actually just hollowing out their real relationships.
So what I do expect them to do is never fake like you're with that girl.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm more so saying like if I'm out at like lunch with my male friend, I can just feel it. Like it's very obvious that he's doing it for women.
But what he's doing is for women, but he wants the women to think that like you guys are hooking up.
Oh, wait, are they talking about when girls go on foodie dates and they bring their friend and like guys are fine with it? They're not fine with it internally and some get pissed off, but do some people do it to make them look like they have more girls around them? That's funny.
Like a successful female friend, whatever it is, it just makes.
So you have a problem with a guy who girls know he has a successful female friend and women would find him attractive? That's a problem?
The problem is that it's inorganic and I'm being used as a means to fuck women. Yeah.
She's talking about the friendship she has with the guy. So she's saying like your friend, it ruins your real relationship.
Like if I have male friends and they're constantly taking photos of me for their Instagram story to tag me because then they feel social proof. Like, oh, Farah Khalidi is friends with me. I find that annoying.
I found the opposite.
I didn't realize that guys do that until like this year. I was like, wait, so that's why they do it? Because they want social proof? Loser. That's okay. Hey.
Female friends were like going out of their way to try to introduce me to girls. Like they didn't care at all. I think it's interesting.
Oh, then that's what I said. If it's organic,
Yeah,
like if my male friend said like, "Hey, I want to go up and talk to this girl."
Oh, I see what you're saying, because they're being honest about it. So I agree with you totally on that. Like a lot of times when I'll do like the group photos or whatever, I indicate totally. It's like, we're here to modeling shoot. These girls are my friends.
Sartain operates like industry. Like it always. I would assume that he is like not a promoter, maybe like well, yeah, like either a partner, promoter, whatever, operates in the same way, which is crazy because before I met him, I used to say the same thing. So it's like, oh shit, he does it like, and I say like it's the same thing because when I went to Vegas, him and Rollo were, I forget what nightclub. It's a new one. I wasn't familiar with it. I wasn't there when I was there. But they were at the club and they were like, yeah, just text me when you get up to the door or whatever, and I'll come and get you. I've worked in Vegas, Houston, Chicago, Scottsdale, pretty much every nightclub in the US. Not really, but like I know how it works. In Vegas, it's another animal. It's like you, even if you know somebody, you're not getting back in there. But because it's me, and I know, and I go up to the club and I'm just like, hey, I need to go to the table that's right by the DJ booth. It's Sartain birthday thing, whatever. And they just like, okay. I was like, thanks. I was like, that never happens in Vegas. And they were like, how'd you get in here?
This is my BFF. This girl's like my sister, whatever. But I found the same effect. I like found that because what happens is it's compliance and approval and the woman being attractive more than lascivious. What hurts you is the ass shaking, grabbing your tits, that kind of stuff. With a girl, like I had one guy, he's like, girls are grabbing their ass like right next to his head. And I was like, that hurts you with women who like you. That actually hurts you. But other women finding approval in you, that actually helps.
Yeah, and I think that there's something that like I like a guy who can get along with women. I think especially now we're so black-pilled with doing so much. Like I'm like, oh, you have female friends? You don't think we're just like inferior by default? Like cool. Like I think
it's attractive if they have female friends of different attractiveness levels. If all their female friends are super hot,
that's true.
That's one thing. Like with the charity events, sometimes the guys will come.
They did a study, and I forget exactly what it was, but essentially came to the conclusion. Oh, it's something with the disgust thing. It's like men will not talk to you unless they find you somewhat physically attractive. And so like you could conclude that they're the girls they have that are friends, they at one point wanted to fuck them. So love you.
Events
like the
like,
video.
Yeah, that girl was like 40, and I was like, bro, it's a charity event. I don't give a fuck how the girl looks. Now there happened to be an outrageously high number of attractive women at my events because I invite them, but like I'm never going to disclude someone because you're
well, that's
older.
my point. I agree with her. I think if I see that all his female friends are really attractive, I assume he just wants to have. I assume he's just friends with them because they're attractive.
Okay, I need to work on this. I have too many attractive women on my IG.
That might be because then see, so I would, especially if all the women are young, I would be like, he doesn't have real friendships with these people. I would never think that now you're like going home and you guys are like texting like we text.
Or like unattractive women are invisible to him, which I find super unattractive.
Yeah, no, I have.
You know what I think is a green flag? Men that are into or have older women friends. It's like, what? I don't know. Something about it. Just keeping it real.
Female friends, and we send each other fucking horrible memes, like memes all day long. Yeah. Like, by the way, memes are the greatest way to like cross the intersexual barrier. Men and women both like memes. I like memes between people. Like they're really, really great.
But they have to be good.
People.
If it's bad, if you have bad humor, it's done.
Yes. I thought one thing that was interesting that you said was the concept of when prostitution was legalized in certain places that you saw trafficking increase in those areas. So there's the prostitution being legalized, which was supposed to like get rid of certain problems. And then the contrapositive of when in pornography in certain cases, we saw less
violence.
Yes. Can you go over those two concepts?
Yeah. So there's, oh my God, I think one of them, I think it was Czech Republic. Hong Kong. I have to remember. Maybe I have it in here, but I don't. If you want to give me time to look it up,
Yep.
it's fine. That this was research I did to do that whatever debate. But yeah, they found that in a few places where there was like a government that took over, that they did like whatever, or there wasn't porn allowed, and then there was porn allowed. I think even Jordan Peterson says this. Now, I wouldn't go as far as Jordan Peterson to say that it has been shown to definitely have a cathartic effect on sexual violence, but there's also no evidence to show that it increases, which is a claim a lot of people make. So it doesn't seem like porn has any negative, it could even have a positive impact on sexual violence towards women.
You also know the studies that show that violent video games don't make kids violent. You've seen that too?
Yes.
Okay. So I am of the opinion that misogynist people come into the red pill space, but I don't think red pill space makes people misogynist. Here's what I actually think makes people misogynist. Alan Roger Curry wrote a book called Mode 1, and I think his description is perfect. It's not rejection from women that makes men misogynist. It's when a man invests in a woman, thinks he has a shot, and it might be her fault. It might not be her fault. Mica may have totally said, I'm just going to be friends with you. And then he finds out that she slept with some other guy the first time she met him. That's when men become misogynist.
Okay, so I'm going to push back a little bit on the red pill, because I think it's a little different. So there's, 3 ends of radicalization. I forgot who came up with this, but it's need, narrative, and network.
Okay.
And so, yeah, video games on their own are not giving you need, narrative, network. I don't think but the red pill space, like there could be a guy or an incel or whoever, or even these incel forums that's like kind of feeling this way. And then he goes on these forums and now he has a narrative. These red pillars are telling them it's because women suck, blah, 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 blah. You have a need for something that you're not getting. And now you have a network. And there's been tons of studies done on how I think one of the reasons that you're not as misogynistic is because your opinion of your own sexual market value impacts how much, so guys who have a lower perceived, they are more misogynistic.
It was Mac and Murphy showed about this. He talked about benevolent sexism versus hostile sexism.
Yeah, hostile.
And if you're less
off topic a little bit, but did you guys know when your allergies are bad from like the pollen outside, it's because we don't have enough female plants? There's sexism in the environment right now.
attractive, you're likely to have the hostile sexism, but not the benevolent sexism. And I actually prefer women to men, to be honest with you. Like I'm about as lack of a misogynist as you can get. Far a couple things. Your issue with Rollo. Like, listen, I'm going to say this first off. Rollo is one of my best friends. The 3 of us would not even be having this conversation if it wasn't for me meeting him. So I owe a lot to the dude. And as a friend off camera, he's a really, really great. He's like an older brother to me.
I find that, and I don't know if I'm not talking about Farhad, but I find that those. No, it's probably not true. You either love Rollo or hate Rollo. Like, Rollo will literally have a title that I'm like, God damn it, Rollo, what are you talking about? And like, it's not clickbait in the same way. Like, sometimes I think clickbait doesn't follow through on what the thumbnail is or whatever. But like, Rollo always gets to the point of the thing, and it's always like the good way of looking at the thing. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Why do people hate him so much?
But he gets into conspiracy shit.
Fine.
And sometimes we disagree. A lot of times he attributes something to be nefarious when it's not just negligence. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Of course, people on the other side want to silence him, but I don't know that it is a worldwide cabal. Like, I don't think that Joe Biden has any idea what red pill is. That's anyway, that's the point I'm trying to make. What is the issue that you had?
My beef with Rollo Tomassi.
Yeah.
I was really excited to do the 2v2 with him. You know, I was like reading a lot of his Substack. I think he's really well written, and I think that he is decently mentally present. So I was excited for it. But then he just starts like leaking my DMs with random people. And I just think that's way too high school. Like, there's a certain threshold of things you don't transgress in this industry. And especially because he was clutching his pearls over his daughter being doxxed. I don't know why he would go into like the leaking territory. So that's why it's a hard line. Nothing he leaked was even like that salacious. It was pretty innocuous, but it's just like a principle thing.
Yeah, I think that's probably why, because he didn't think it was innocuous, and also because certain people have leaked his shit. I think that's why. Yeah, so I understand. I can talk to him about it. I would love to have the 2 of you guys on. I don't think it would be an issue. And you're right. Like, the reason why we do a show together is because I was the only person in this space that read enough evolutionary psychology to keep up with him. And he's the only person I know who reads as much as I do.
Easy.
I try to do 60 books. He's the only guy who can keep
How does
up.
he have time? Because I feel like he's just watching all this stuff like everyone. Like,
Isn't
we
it
literally
crazy?
joke that we want to get him that Air Pro thing so he can have all our tabs open. Because he literally, all of our Twitters, all of our
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but asking chat, how many books do you think Rollo sells a day or a week? Let's do a week.
Because he knows, like, anything you do, he's in the comments.
Isn't it
like,
crazy? Because a lot of people are sending it to him. That's one of the reasons why. And also, I'm not big on Twitter. Twitter Rollo is not the same as like going to eat barbecue Rollo.
Barbecue Rollo? I'm saying, when does he have time to eat barbecue Rollo? Because he's in every like random stream everywhere.
It's pretty nuts.
Like,
yeah.
Is he? I have
anyway. Okay, cool.
Glad
that settled. He leaked some of your private correspondence.
2
I totally understand
per
that.
week?
There was a guy who wanted to fight me.
No,
recently.
more.
He's like, he wanted to box me, and I was cool with that. And then he leaked my correspondence, and I was like, and then he also sent me paperwork to sue me, and I was like, I'm not gonna.
If he leaked my correspondence with him, that's his prerogative.
Yeah.
He like went to a friend and leaked my DMs with his friend, and I just feel like that's not his decision, and his friend wasn't even okay with that. So it's like,
I am looking like Cynthia. If you know, you know. Okay. I just did an interview with Rollo. On my phone, it said copyright, and so I privated it. I mean, you can still go and watch it, but I'm going to unprivate it because I dual streamed it. I don't know if it was an accident. I don't know. I was going to download it and cut it up. So
what's the point? Yeah.
Got it. I totally understand. Okay, cool. Second thing I want to ask you guys is this, and I've had 3 guys hit me up to want to ask you guys about this situation. You were working as a lobbyist before, and then also you did an interview where you talked about there were people in the Democrat Party who were paying you to support certain candidates.
So at this time, I cannot comment.
I'm
on
her
the
lawyer on this,
situation.
and we're gonna go no comment.
Okay. All right. Cool. Because I was you plead the 5th. Okay, cool. That sounds good.
Oh, there's one thing I want to say on your podcast because I don't have a place to say because my Twitter is all porn and I don't talk anywhere else. Okay. Andrew Wilson, I'm challenging him to a debate because he was supposed to debate me one-on-one and he got scared. And so like the whatever podcast and everyone was like, oh, and he agreed. And then he keeps backing out. And then people think like, oh, why won't you debate Andrew? Andrew Wilson won't debate me.
Okay.
Farha has reached out to him multiple times and he says, oh no, she's just boring. And I'm not like, he's literally just...
I don't know if he's doing that. I will say that Andrew and I are going to do a debate over evolutionary psychology in the future. And he's just been a lot in demand recently.
I think he's just
if you're right.
He's going to do one-on-ones with random like first year. He just wants to dunk on people, and so he's scared to debate me because he's doing the debate. He just won't do them.
I'll tell you this: I will encourage Andrew to do a debate with you. I've had 2 debates with you, and I find them very pleasant. So I'm really cool with that. So going back to what you said before, let's just talk about this in general. We don't have to talk about this specifically, counselor, but the concept of the political parties reaching out to streamers, specifically paying them money in order for them to put out a narrative about either political party. What do you guys think about this?
It's so normal. Like, I think my generation, like Gen Z, is so cognizant of like all the guerrilla marketing around us. And it's funny that like that story went so viral with like old media because they're like, oh my God, this is illegal. And it's so not. Like, there's a million ways to do this legally.
Yeah.
Like it's very normal to just promote.
I don't think that's okay. I really don't. Because you don't have to disclose it. That's what, if I'm not mistaken, like it was like a weird thing. I'll have to look it up because I'm not 100% sure. But it's like, even if you're going to sell a product, you have to disclose that it's like an ad, right? But with them, you didn't. That's crazy.
A campaign or someone's policy.
Okay, so I think there's a different part of this, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the other issue is not just that there's political action committees. Like basically this is state funding because the Democrats are in power right now. The Democrat is in the White House. It's more to deal with the situation that, let me see if I can pull it up. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security paid nearly $700,000 to a counterterrorism NGO to intercept and divert Twitter X traffic away from specific individuals in the manosphere. And since that's happened, Rollo, Myron, and several other people have been put on a government watch list since that's happened. And so I think what they're asking is, do you think there could possibly be a correlation between the two where the same entities are changing? I'll tell you right now. I'll give you a story. I was an officer in the U.S. military doing intel work the day that Barack Obama took over from George W. Bush. And my intel meetings did a 180-degree turn in 1 week. They went from looking at like Islamist nationalists trying to do terrorists to the very next week, everyone was Timothy McVeigh and everything was white nationalists and all this kind of stuff. The narrative changed. And so do you think that there could possibly be a conflict of interest when we go into this idea that these guys who are content creators are being put on government watch lists and the same administration is then paying other streamers for
Yeah, I think
advertisement.
that's completely wrong. Like,
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's fine to like propagate a message, but I think the minute you're censoring other people, I think that's completely fucked up and immoral.
So then it's
So you're good with the offense, not the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Counselor?
Yeah, I would largely agree with that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, I just think it's crazy to put them on a government watch list because you disagree with something that they're saying. So
yeah, I don't know if
very
they
pathetic.
if that's true, then yeah, that's insane.
And they're just giving them more clout because then they have this whole underdog narrative of like, oh, we're
I totally agree.
blacklisted by the government. It makes them cooler.
Which, by the way, when I said the APA, I thought that was a huge misstep by them. For them to deem traditional masculinity as harmful, all you're doing is just giving clout to the other side.
And if it is just
the irony of all of this is that Rollo has written books on how to set boundaries, how to when to, like, the best way I put it is I should have said it yesterday, like with trying to navigate women specifically, or just like relationships, with all the narratives coming out and how it's triggering everybody. It's like, how do you navigate it? How do you, like, when your wife is screaming at you, I don't know. It's like, how do you handle it like a man? Like, she just wants you to hear her type advice. So the fact that Rollo got on this watch list, it's like putting I don't know if Dr. Phil would be a good example, but like Dr. Phil is like a doctor, but he got his license taken away, but he's really out there on like YouTube and stuff. Like, his opinions are very black and white, and he's funny to watch, right? Funny. Rollo's like the same thing, but not really, because he literally, whatever he writes, he speaks on YouTube. Obviously, there's moments where he does like Michaela Peterson videos, which it's not liked by a lot of people, but like, it's not, you can't say it's not funny. It's kind of funny.
Like, provide the context, because saying traditional masculinity just like that, like, I think, yeah, then it's going to lead to what it looks like, but maybe it's not that, and they should be more clear.
Like,
very
yeah, in this article, U.S. government.
I can understand why half of those people at least were on the list. Rollo, I'm like, Rollo? And you know for a fact that they're going based off of what even creators who didn't watch him, they just say, oh, Rollo Tomassi. Because like Rollo's the godfather. Like, they have not watched anything. They haven't read anything. They've maybe looked at thumbnails. And so it's like, how the fuck did he get on this list?
Has named the manosphere as one of the biggest terror threats facing the United States.
Wait, well, that's a headline.
Rollo is not.
Yeah, I'm just like, my whole thing is they're not. If you think they are, then I feel really bad for you. What happened with Elliot Rodgers? He wasn't watching Fresh and Fit. The man was mentally ill. We always, it's really funny. Have you ever noticed whenever there's gun violence, the first thing people try to do is figure out, they go through their search history and try to figure out which political party. And it is Republicans blaming Democrats and Democrats blaming Republicans.
Yeah, there's a reason.
And whenever I don't agree with you.
There's a reason for that. The people that are high on the spectrum of like delusion that are violent, very smaller proportion. Like, most people that have delusions or hallucinations are non-violent, but there is that small subset or whatever. And like, I'm telling you from fucking experience, with not even my situation, but I used to speak at like workshops for parents and shit. It all falls into the realm of religion, politics, whoever the president is at the time. From my understanding, it's mostly Trump. I don't know why. Probably because that's like the president before, but I don't know. I don't think my family member even knows that Biden's in office, if I'm being honest with you.
Whatever you believe in causes school shootings. And that part is getting ridiculous. And we've completely, hey, No, it's mental illness. Some of these people are fucking mentally ill, and that's the reason why they do what they do. When in Tennessee, there was a woman who was pro-trans who was sitting there shooting up a bunch of people, and in this situation with Timothy McVeigh, he occasionally looked at some pickup content, and then they're saying, "Oh, well, this is incel violence."
Well, aren't they more black pill? They're not red pill. The shooters.
Well, regardless of what they are, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But red pill takes the brunt of it. Like they're still going to get blamed for it. Like it's not it's not fucking wheat waffles that's on a government watch list. The black pillars are not getting on a government watch list. It's guys like Rollo.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think we solved everything. What do you guys think?
Too.
I think we did. I think it's all. I think the feud is over. I think we're big.
I think me and Rollo need to do a one-on-one and just cry it out.
So you're fine with that?
Why don't we? Have,
I can set that up in 2 seconds.
We should have
only
a mediation.
If it's about our emotions. I don't want it to be about red pill. I want
That's
it to be
my
about
point.
our emotions.
And then I'll be her. We should have mediation.
Rollo would
you
do
and me
it.
For sure.
the
Your partner on your podcast in Arizona, what's her name? I forgot.
Naomi.
Naomi. She was like, I didn't realize you guys were going to be so nice to me. She said this after the
Oh my
podcast.
God.
I think you would be shocked at how nice Rollo would be to you. I think you'd be shocked.
I don't question that he's a good guy. I'm just saying there's certain thresholds you don't cross. In the
Agreed. I
industry.
totally agree. Yeah.
We should mediate a therapy session between them.
I think that would break the internet.
Mia, like, is her advocate, and you is his, to make sure they're both being heard.
So we sit here, and then they sit like
they
here.
sit there, and if I feel like her needs aren't being met, I'll speak up, and then you too. I think
if Rollo's needs are not being met, I'll be like, dude, stop being a bitch.
Cancel Access Vegas, and we should do that.
Yeah.
Tonight?
Yes.
Candle it. I want it to be very like sentimental.
I think you guys should just come on the show tonight.
No.
We want. They need
Dude,
to
I was
squash
gonna-
this.
There's an
When
element.
I was in Vegas, I was gonna do like a panel show, and I asked them like, "Hey, are you guys open on Sunday?" Like the owner of it, and they were like, "No, technically we're not, but we can do it any other day." And I was like, "Yeah, like okay, hold on, let me like see if I can get girls like Kylie, his girlfriend, stuff." And they quoted me a price. Guys, guess how fucking much it is to do one show. Just guess. Just fucking guess on a weekday or a weekend, just not Sunday.
In the room, and it's
Okay.
Rollo leaking me out.
Beautiful. All right. Hey, where can we find you?
You can go to jasminejafar.me. So JAZMEN JAFAR.
I kind of want to rewind it because we started way at the end, but let's do stay-at-home men because that's what I want.
The other thing is, I was looking at this article because I want to get into the concept of therapy and like whether or not it works.
$1,000, $700 on a weekday, but because they're not open on, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like I could invest in new tits.
Works.
What?
And this is the idea of the American Psychological Association.
No, not
labeled
5,000.
traditional masculinity as harmful, not toxic masculinity, traditional masculinity. Do you ever feel like when you're trying to make a point that sometimes the people on your side go a little too far with some of these things?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is too far. The
Yeah,
American
put it in
Psychological Association
perspective.
should not be
Put it in perspective. Most studios charge like 50 to 70, and that's like mid-range. 50 to 70 an hour, 1 hour.
thing. Should not be calling traditional masculinity harmful. They should be calling narcissism harmful. They should be calling different things like that. But like, do you ever feel like you're trying to make a point and your side goes a little bit too far? I feel like that, by the way, on my side all the time.
Yeah. Well, I have a question. Well, what do they outline as traditional masculinity?
You'd have to go through it, but it goes, the new guidlines for psychological practice with boys and
Someone
men
trying to
marks
match
the first
my
ever report
freak.
published by the association aimed at helping the practitioners care for their male patients despite social forces that can harm mental health.
Yeah, so because if they're saying traditional masculinity, I think traditional masculinity is harmful for men if they believe that if they're not breadwinners, they're all losers. Like I think that is harmful.
Okay, so let's talk about this because you brought this point up and I thought that was really interesting. The idea that we've clearly gotten to the idea where it's comfortable for a woman to be the breadwinner. Some women feel that way, some women don't. Although there was a survey that showed that women who were working full time, when asked, would you have preferred to be able to a stay-at-home mom and have a partner that could take care of you? 83% of the women said they would have preferred to have stayed home. These are women who are working. The idea, though, of men, the stay-at-home dad. I'm sorry, the idea of the stay-at-home dad. The issue is when we're seeing things that constitute divorce, when a man loses his job or makes less money than a woman, that is one of the top 3 precipitators of divorce. And so when you say this is something I've always said. I don't think all women have a burden of performance. I think some do. I think all men have a burden of performance unless you're incredibly good looking, wealthy, or famous. Men have more of a burden of performance. And telling men that,
which is funny why, like that recent Myron and Fresh and Fit video, like all women are useless. It's like, we don't have to perform anything. Like, come on, Myron, get together.
they should change the way they feel. Like, I personally think the
So you
world.
disagree with Richard?
That's what I
Reeves'
asked.
on this because he's like a big
Congratulations.
proponent.
Correct. But what I'm saying is,
That's what I meant when I said fifth, because I thought it was either the second or the fifth. I love them. I love them. Congrats.
in a vacuum, do I wish that's the way the world could be? Yes. In reality, do I think men can go around not having a
All
burden
day,
of
I
performance
say, hey.
and think that they're going to be successful or
just-
find a mate?
just
I don't.
Moving their burden of performance. So like what Richard Reeves says, like getting men into different, like this idea, because the reality is the times aren't going back. Women
Yes.
now can choose men. They don't need them. And if you're basing your entire self-identity on being the breadwinner and these women are coming and outperforming you and then yeah, I don't think that's where you should, your identity, your worth as a person should not, for men or women, be contingent upon, I have to be the breadwinner.
I think internally your worth as a person can not be that, but externally, and then maybe not a breadwinner, but you are going to have to perform as a man. Like,
well,
I think,
everyone has to support themselves somehow.
Right.
That's my point.
right, but some people can support themselves through having relationships with other people, and
Yeah.
men generally, in general, are not those people. What I'm saying is like this concept, and I was listening
Somebody
to
trying to
Chris
make
Williamson talk
me
to William Costello about this whole idea. It's like exactly what you were saying. It's like, can men adopt this identity where they're not the problem solver, the breadwinner, etc., and then just be the stay-at-home dad? And the thing that both of them said was, evolutionarily, that doesn't make sense. That's going to be a very difficult sell for culture, for society in general, to accept the stay-at-home dad to the same set.
Okay, so
House
I do think that the
husbands.
majority of people, you're right. So
Yes.
the majority of women, but like let's say it's even 70-30. Why not have a society where that 30% of men or even that 30% of women that don't want to be stay-at-home moms? Because yeah, you could also say the evolutionary like role for a woman is to be at home, but a lot of women were miserable being at home. They don't want to. So there could be the opposite happening.
You're right. And this is one of the places where Dr. Buss is misquoted. Dr. Buss talks about this concept that in the past, men were the breadwinners, but it doesn't mean they have to be forever.
Yeah.
It's descriptive. It's not normative.
Yeah, but I don't know how true this is, but Jordan Peterson talks about how women at 28 to 32 reduce their hours at work. And that's usually when they come into their chair saying how they want a family. Like, we don't have that sort of drive, it seems. I'm not saying all women. I'm saying probably if you want to do both, like, it's hard. Just saying.
But
I'm looking for a man who's a diver. That's all. I want him to not come home to, let's say he hasn't come home in 10 minutes. I'm gonna go get our boat and go look for him. Okay. I love that.
going back to what you said before, the issue
Somebody
is
trying to
when
match my
men
freak.
losing their job is a precipitator of divorce. What you're saying is men need to be more comfortable with the fact that they're not going to be the breadwinner because they're not going to college as much and they're not making as much money. And my response is, I think they need to level up still. I actually think the burden of performance on them has increased. And I think the number of sexless men that they don't want to fall into that category. The fact that as a man makes less money, he's more likely to go without sex for a year.
True, but like for instance, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying if you lose your job, just sit at home and like just love yourself and like eat ice cream. But like what Richard, like the getting more men into heal, like health, education, administrative work, literacy, like change the kind of this.
The problem specifically.
How
with
about get
literacy
rid of those jobs?
Is it just pays less money than being an engineer. And women, he talks about this too. Women are not becoming garbage truck collectors and working in sewers to replace men. So men are still doing. Women are not going in droves to become plumbers.
But women are going into STEM, and so there should
Correct.
be some men. And I think he did talk about that study where it shows like right now, let's say there's 15% of women engineers and like 15 male nurses. But if people were free to choose, I forgot who the economist was who did this. If people were just free to choose without any stigma, it would be like 30% and 30%.
For sure.
So even that 15% in each direction.
I'm looking for a man in Florida.
Well, I think the difference though is a nurse makes money.
Yeah, that's fine.
And female educators don't. And the
As
problem is with some of those fields, I agree. The thing with STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I'm going to make a lot of money. All right.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
In literacy, it's going to be real fucking hard unless I'm a tenured professor.
I see it. But he went through, I think you read it, you remember, he went through and he
Oh,
talked about how actually a lot of those jobs in the heal world do make money. And a lot of times it is that stigma.
It is a stigma. Yeah. Dude, male nurses, dude, I'll be honest with you. You want to hook up with a bunch of chicks, a male nurse. A heterosexual male nurse. I can't even imagine. You're like on a floor with 40 women and 2 dudes. I cannot fucking imagine how good that would be. Or how advantageous that would be. The other issue, so going back to this thing before, I actually do want to talk about this concept, and that is with OnlyFans. One of the things that can happen is, number one, we talked about women can take better care of themselves. You see women going to Turkey and getting new noses. All my friends, they have all the same nose. They all went to this one fucking doctor in Istanbul, and they all came back and they all have the same nose, right? They all have the Kim Kardashian's nose. There's this idea of these things that can prolong their physical attractiveness later on in life. But there's other things. Do you guys remember Coconut Kitty 143?
No.
She's an influencer.
She passed away. Rest in peace.
The 12-year-old filter on her face.
I saw a story about it.
So she had a porn star body, but she had a 12-year-old's face, right? And that's an extreme example. She ended up taking her own life, unfortunately. Yeah. But the less extreme example is the girl who goes and uses Facetune and snatches her waist, and then goes and uses stunning level 3 and changes her complexion, etc. It pushes it to a certain level to where girls don't even have to look like their photos. But the danger of that is the next level up, and you talked about this before, where deep fakes and artificial intelligence. If I were to take AI images, renderings of you, I would have to pay you. Legally, I would. If I were to take AI renderings of you, I would have to pay you. If I took the 2 of your faces and amalgamated them together, I don't have to pay you anymore. That's where things get really weird.
But then it doesn't look exactly like one of them.
Extremely disruptive when it comes to OnlyFans.
Well, here's the thing. I think part of the reason OnlyFans has, taken over in the way it has is because people wanted to see like the biggest OF people are the people that have the most personality. Like, I feel like a big part of both of our OF is that people like, even though we're fucking annoying, people like our personalities, like talking to them, being a real human, having stretch marks, all those things are why people
Probably
wanted to see the normal girl next door, the mom of 3, and that has.
Okay, but if the only thing about OnlyFans that I like is that the girls own their shit. And they have the ability, doesn't mean they do, but they have the ability to not follow conventional attractiveness that maybe a studio would. Like, maybe they don't wear makeup one stream. People pay for that shit. It's I like that. They have a lot of power to do better with it than the porn industry, but we'll see. You can't tell me that there's not some of their fans that maybe they fall in love with because they spend money on them. And there's a lot can go wrong. Most of the men on there are married, right?
That's like this instead of just.
Oh my God. Headlines. Married man pays for OnlyFans, OnlyFans woman leaves wife.
Flawless AI image. So yeah, there's a portion of that population that I think might be more interested in that, but there's a lot of OF subscribers that just like the idea of a real woman.
What I think what you may be missing though is the idea of machine learning catching up to the stretch marks and a girl seeming like a real woman.
Yeah, but even psychological, I think it'd be a better sell if they pretended she was real. As soon as something happens in your brain where you go if you found out Kylie was a robot,
also
Instagram
just rolled out that if you edit a photo, there was somebody, I think it was James Charles uploaded an Instagram photo that he edited, and it said it on the bottom, generated by AI. So now that they're at least pointing that out, I think that's really good, at least for now.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's something about the psychology of this is a real person.
I wouldn't feed her as much. I think that's what would change.
Something about this is a real woman. That is something that automatically change.
Okay, but could you see how people would lose that? Because here's the reason why I'm saying this.
Way down the line, yes.
Okay, I'm friends with Madison Ivy, and when you guys watch her porn, she appreciates it, but she doesn't give a fuck about you. She doesn't know you. Nicolette Shea does not care about you. On these on OnlyFans, there's this perception. You said you don't do the girlfriend experience.
No,
I have several friends who do the girlfriend
Yeah.
experience. You know that's pervasive.
Yeah, I don't do it.
On OnlyFans. Men wanting a contextual relationship with a woman who does not even know who they are, and they're not even messaging her. Let's be real. Like, here's one thing.
Mine do.
Okay. But let's talk about this. Actually, I'm getting off topic here.
Yeah.
The concept, you as an attorney, of the Federal Trade Commission bringing a suit against OnlyFans because so many of these content creators are saying you're talking to me, but you're talking to an account manager in the Philippines.
I agree. I completely agree with that. I think it's fraud.
But you understand.
Yes.
And that,
I think that's wrong. I wouldn't do it.
But you could see a class action lawsuit coming in the end later on.
I actually, that was the first thing I thought. I was like, how is this allowed?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
crazy.
I agree.
Like a woman with 1 million subs sitting there.
And the reason that I see that
like just
is
even
because
like your first year of law school, you go through and you have to
because that might influence the buyer to pay for it. So it's not really informed consent, right? It's like fraud in a way. I think there will be.
They teach you about how you have, like, even all the, I agreed to, like, blah, 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 like all the stuff that they have to show you. Like they have to have a pop-up in some cases to say, I agree to this. I see, I consent, I understand the terms. So for OnlyFans to not have anything where you understand that you're basically being scammed is insane to me.
Farah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if she says it's illegal, I believe her. I don't think it's a moral transgression.
I hope he
guys are
brings
paying
up
for the cyborg experience.
Ooh, if he doesn't, I want somebody to talk about the fact that buyers are asking OnlyFans girls if they can like role play as PDF file shit. And it's like, should you alert that to police? Are they like, is it just a preference? Like I want to know what's that? It's like, you couldn't do that with regular porn. Could maybe do it with an escort, but you already like crossed the line. If like, I know some places it's legal, but you know what I mean?
I want to believe that it's
Okay.
real.
If what you're saying is true, though, that goes back to my original point, which is we can get, and I don't think it's going to be in 50 years. I think it'll be very soon where men will not be able to tell the difference. They'll even know that a woman is fake and an amalgamation of different AI.
No, I'm saying that I don't think the guys, if they knew the chat,
Come
would
on.
feel good. I'm saying they want to believe.
Guys can't even tell from at least bartending. It seems guys can't even tell like what's a real woman. They just go based off of like the exaggerated feature. So it's like, I don't know.
Believe it's real. They want to suspend their disbelief if they knew they're looking
or
at
lack.
an
It depends on
application.
what
I don't
you're
think they
into.
would get off to it.
But they are getting off to it now. Like you talked about that one girl who made 70,000 like the first week when she had an AI.
She did yeah.
No
I
way,
think there's a
Sean.
market for it. I just don't think it would completely replace this because if you go to those guys right now and you tell them, hey, this is actually a man in Bangladesh, how many of them would keep talking to him? So that transparency matters because if it didn't really matter, then the transparency of the robot wouldn't change anything.
I mean, the issue
if Kylie's a robot, you'd be like, that's fine, I still have fun, but it changes something.
Like I said, I would just feed her less if I found out she was a robot. That's the only difference. I'd still love her. Going back to what I was saying before is the guy in Bangladesh, that is the majority of what's going on now.
I agree.
I'm
but
friends
I don't
with the
think
guys who
people
run these
know
agencies.
that. I don't think they know.
If it really does influence their decision, which I think it does, then does that mean that there's a bunch of married men that are willing to pay to talk to just regular girls?
Know that. I don't think a lot of the people that get on there know that they're.
So you're saying the illusion is the reason that's holding the whole deck of cards
I think
up?
the illusion
I don't
is
know.
the
I
reason.
really do think once the illusion's gone, again, the reason why I'm saying this is because we've already had the examples of non-contextualized porn. When you look at the images of the Playmate of the Month, she didn't know who you were. She didn't care about you, and she wasn't giving you a girlfriend experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that non-contextualization later on, like, here's another example. Forget OnlyFans. Do you think that these AI influencers would disrupt pornography, studio porn? Because there's no connection.
Well, that's what my point is. Like, there is a group of people who got, like, I don't do the girlfriend experience. I'm a 0.01% OF creator.
Yeah.
I don't do any of that. I barely, because I'm doing all my own messages. Like, it's like you ask me for content. That's all I have time to do. And even that, it's going to take like 7 days to get a response sometimes. And I'm still so successful because people like to just sit there and they're not just trying to get a quick nut. Like, I sit on there for an hour and like hang out and talk. You know what I mean? So yes, it's like the question is what percentage of men are going to flip over, and then how long that's going to take over time. But it's funny to me because if you think the #1 field is going to be disrupted by AI is OnlyFans, it's literally going to change
agree.
everything.
Totally agree. But once we pass the Turing test, and by the way, when it comes to streaming technology or anything to do with cameras, what's the first field it's tested in? Always. When we look at virtual reality, it's always pornography. Pornography is so. If you looked at the VR headsets at like the AVN Awards, they were ahead. They're so ahead of their time every time.
Yeah, Gary. But the difference is the thing that people are looking for when they go to like OnlyFans is different than porn. So, for instance, like lawyers, like I think actually lawyers are going to be heavily because like paying us $500 an hour to write you a set.
They were caught using it.
Legal, the whole thing will turn into legal.
It is literally like half of the stuff we do, other than the analysis part, which AI can learn too, is like they're going to be fucked because you're not actually going to the lawyer because you want to see a real person. You're going to a lawyer because you want a demand letter written. And if an AI can write you a demand letter, you're done. But if you're going to OnlyFans, you're going to Farha Khalidi or Jasmine, you want interaction with me. You want to see me.
I think your subscribers from a legacy standpoint will be there. I'm talking about the new guys who are coming into this. The other thing is, I've talked about this before. If you've ever read The Singularity is Nearby, Ray Kurzweil, he talks about at the end of the idea of men eventually having sex with robots. He's like, it's an inevitability because what'll happen is you and I will think it's fucking weird. But when you're 16 and you don't know any different, and you're a virgin, you're going to get to a point where like, I'm going to go talk to Farah in a bar and she's going to be like, hey, nice to meet you, and walk the fuck off and be like, I'm going to go fuck my robot. Fuck this girl. I can't believe she's
going to go
to
fuck
like
my
that.
robot.
And I think we're going to get to that point really quickly.
Well, we're all going to, like that whole, it's the status quo bias, right? So like, yeah, everyone's like, oh, if you could enter a simulation right now and lose your whole life, but your life will be better, would you do it? We'd all say no because we're so attached to this.
But what if we're already
in
a simulation?
Yeah. And then it's like, would you leave and go to your real life? We'd all say no because we all like what we know. So yeah, down the line, we're going to like, I just think we're all going to be like, it's going to be so different than anything we can possibly imagine that it's almost weird to try to guess what's going to happen.
What you're saying is it's going to be disruptive to OF,
everything.
but it's going to be disruptive to
the world.
Got it.
Yeah,
agreed. It would definitely be disruptive.
Like every life as you know it is going to. By the time our stuff changes, everything.
I have a friend of mine, and he's putting out a course, and he's his whole VSL is done through HeyGen, and it looks incredible.
Yeah, like when they're talking about actors that just need to show up one time for one scene and they're just gonna holograph like AI them the rest of the everything's gonna be different.
And
like,
the thing is, if you covered it up with enough B-roll, you can't even tell that he's not talking. It's crazy.
Even just in 100 years, like you said. Like,
I don't think 100 years. I think it'll be 10 years.
No, that's my point. It's like there's I do a lot of like sightseeing and going into cool places, and they'll be like, oh, in like 1901, this was the thing, and I'm like, what are they gonna show at like an Apple store? Be like, this is what they used to do, or like a regular Disneyland versus like a virtual. Like people are gonna be crazy.
You know what they're gonna show? They're gonna show this like this creepy cardboard box out in the forest and be like, this is where we used to put porn back in the 1980s. We used to hide it and go out on our BMX bikes.
And all the tourists are gonna like walk by after they paid like money to see this. Like things change crazy fast, especially with technology. So I agree.
Okay. Something I would love to just do an entire episode with you is the concept of free will.
Oh yeah, I don't believe in it.
Well, I don't either. So I don't know. Do you have an opinion on this?
Talking red pill content
growth
creators.
on OF to the taking on red pill content creators and trying to slay them? Do you do? Like how much? What can you monetize that?
It's hard, but every time I do a show, I obviously get a huge influx. Like Fresh and Fit is a big one. I mean, I think their audience, I think they are the only, because a lot of brands don't work with OnlyFans people. So you guys become our sponsors.
Interesting.
You guys become our advertisers.
I went viral for saying the same thing. We had Stephanie Palomares went on with me, and I've never seen a woman get dunked on harder. It wasn't like you two would have dunked on her. Like she was saying crazy shit. And I'm friends with her, but she was saying some nutty stuff. And I hit her up the next day. I was like, how many more subs you have? She goes, I got 1,200 subs.
Oh, yeah.
I got 1,200 new subs in 24 hours.
Yeah. And then it's not just the subs, because then like all of us usually have like a welcome message. You can unlock that for like $40. And then it just adds up. And then that content is still out there. It's still getting views. Sometimes like, you know, I think, oh yeah, I got my like little influx from Fresh and Fit. And then another clip will like come from that and go viral. And then more people will find you. I literally go live on OnlyFans and I have like people in my live comments be like, fuck, marry, kill, Myron, like they're like your guys' fans.
That's so
like,
funny.
So one of the funny things that there's guys right now. There's a Reddit article saying that I'm 5'6". There's a bunch of articles saying that I was never in the military, all this kind of stuff. And then there's a guy who like makes videos about me every week, just trashing me or whatever. None of it's true, but every time he does it, I get my sales team hits me up. He goes, hey man, you remember that crazy video that was saying that you were lying about your military service? It's like we got like 5 new clients from that. Yeah, and it was one of the crazy things. It was also Grant Cardone,
who was like, we started making the most money when we got the most hate.
Yeah, no, I actually get really sad if I like, that's like when I post something sexy and all the comments are nice, I get really upset because honestly, the best engagement, and that's another thing, even the red pillars or the people that watch that don't come to OF, they help your engagement because they're writing hate comments on every single thing I post or every single thing I do, which just tells the algorithm I'm interesting.
Okay.
So they're like our free interns.
So I think where like I'm definitely different from all the other content creators is I have no moral. I'm totally morally ambiguous to any of this. I don't care what you guys do. The difference for me is like I do try to look at this from more of like a socioeconomic standpoint of like what could porn do to people, helpful or hurtful. You guys don't think people need to watch porn. If somebody didn't want to watch porn, you wouldn't have a problem with it, right?
No, I think she definitely wouldn't have a problem.
Would you?
Have a problem with people
like when they say no fap and they don't want. I had Austin Dunham on, so I had FitX Fearless and Austin Dunham. They're both Miami content creators, and FitX Fearless is like I have completely stopped with any pornography or masturbation whatsoever, and it's made my brain clear and it's really helped me. And then I listen to Austin Dunham, and he's like, "Well, I mean, I can see how sometimes some people need it, and trust me, as a guy who's stationed at Altus Air Force Base in Oklahoma, I can tell you there's guys sometimes that you get into these situations with just no women around. So I totally understand that. And then you listen to Andrew Huberman, and he gives like this he says there's no morals involved here, but there's some discussion about how this affects the dopamine structure in your brain. Do you have any opinions about this specifically?
I mean, I encourage guys to do no fap. I think that's like a great pursuit on their part. I think it's less about the masturbation itself. It's more about exercising discipline in some facet of their life. I think that could be masturbation or waking up at a certain time or just meditating or like healthier diet and fitness. So if the one thing they want to start focusing on to like rip the Band-Aid off is not fapping, I think that's amazing. But I don't think porn is inherently worse or more damaging than like any of the other like vices that people indulge on a day-to-day basis.
So I think the complaint is this. So like, for instance, with video game playing and gambling, there is like some level of skill there in those two vices. But when it comes to alcohol, pornography, and drugs, there's no effort being exerted where you're watching people have a threesome. Does that make sense?
Unfortunately, like the science on this is not like, there's a reason that they've added gambling as a behavioral addiction in the DSM-5, but they've rejected porn multiple times because the evidence is just not there. Nicole Krause at UCLA does the neuroscience UCLA has done really great work on this, and they're not finding it. Like even with TV and obesity, the number of hours that you watch TV is correlated to how obese you are, but they can't find anything with the number of hours you watch porn or how much you watch porn. The number one predictor of whether or not you're going to have issues with porn is something called moral incongruence, which is how you feel your attitudes towards the porn. If you feel like you're being like those. So when you see things like that, I'm just not seeing, I wouldn't say it's good for you necessarily, but I don't think there's enough evidence to say that porn in moderation is bad for you. So
the moral incongruence, you're talking about like the lieutenant governor of Tennessee who came out with LBGT legislation, turns out that he's gay. You're talking about that level of moral incongruency?
So what like the studies would be like, hey, like I feel like porn is morally bad. Like let's say you're religious and you're watching porn.
So you're more likely to get addicted if you find it morally.
Because addiction is just self-reported. So what they found is that people who like, think about it. Like if you're not supposed to do it and you do it and then you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done it. And then you keep doing it. You're like, I'm addicted. I can't stop. But really you're just normal and you have a sex drive and you're like, and then they'll ask you like, do you feel like this is affecting your life? And they'll be like, yes, oh my God, it's affecting my life. But really, it's just because you have an issue with porn.
So you're saying unreliable narrator.
Yeah, I'm saying not really. I'm saying that if you have an issue with porn, if you feel like it's against your values or that it's diminishing you as a man or something, and then you do it, you're going to have more negative outcomes from doing it.
But someone can be addicted to porn, just like they can be addicted to alcohol.
You can be addicted to potato chips.
Well, correct, but you can be addicted to porn is what I'm saying.
It's not like alcohol, though. That's the difference. That like it doesn't affect your brain chemistry in the way alcohol does.
It does if you're young.
Rejected by the medical community. But it's like shopping. Can you be addicted to shopping? Yes.
So rather than just calling it like a stark psychological disorder, in Evolution of Desire by Dr. Buss, he goes off in this concept where when men looked at images, non-contextual sexualized images of other women, they start to find their partner more and more lacking. And so it could cause a problem of you watching non-contextualized images of women that look like women who are never going to date you, doing things they will never do with you consistently. You putting in no effort in order to see these images, and then you getting a physiological response of dopamine, the highest level of dopamine from something like that, that could be damaging.
It could, yes, but that's different than an addiction.
Right. Oh, so, I'm not. We don't. It doesn't have to be addiction. I'm saying, could you be addicted? I'm not saying everyone's addicted, and I'm not here to morally like chastise pornography. But my point is like I can still see how there is.
Is it an addiction? Because if you have the urge to like wank it, sorry, I don't know. It's like pornography is just a tool. I don't know. I'm mixed on this topic.
Is an issue. And
Still
whenever
am
anybody
reading
tells
about
me,
it.
hey man, I want to start eating better, whenever I want to start going to the gym or I want to start watching pornography, I'm never going to tell them no. Hey man, I want to wake up in the morning and get 10 minutes of sunlight in my eyes because Dr. Huberman said so. I'm like, dude, go do it. Cold plunge, fuck yeah, go get it. Buy yourself a fucking Oura ring, do it. I'm always for that. But like, I think where I've heard you push back is like, now you're acting as if pornography is the same thing as like stuff with children and fucking like, you know, crack addiction. And you're like, no, this is not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. I would put it in the same, like, you can have an addiction to like shopping. Like I would put it in that, like, it can impact your life negatively. It can impact your relationships negatively. What they found, for instance, is that when both partners are okay with their partners viewing porn, then it doesn't seem to impact
It actually helps.
Yeah, it helps it.
It helps
so it all depends on you and your individual situation, how you feel about porn. If you have any moral issues with it, I know that's not what we're talking about here, but if we're going to be talking about the science is just not there to say that this is addictive in any way.
Yeah, not addictive, but like, so for instance, Dr.
A compulsion.
Huberman talking about dopamine and testosterone increases, but without human contact. And you start to learn, like through operant conditioning, after a while, you start to get to the point where it's like, I am getting these dopamine releases without touching a woman. And it could change the way you program, you wire your own brain. And the neuroplasticity being more malleable below the age of 25, meaning people for like, I listened to one guy talking to Huberman, he was 11 years old when he got addicted to porn, 11. And like, when you think about the neuroplasticity of somebody who's 11 years old, and I'll be honest with you, I'm just going to be, first time I'll just admit this. I grew up in Texas. You guys know they have more breast implants there than any other place in the country. I haven't dated a woman without a boob job in fucking 20 years. The women I date look like women in porn. And like, I'm to be honest with you, like growing up looking at Playboy and then later going to the Playboy mansion.
I actually think this is correlated with autism. Can somebody back that up? I'm convinced. Not like a bad thing, just something I've observed.
Yeah, and you can have a bunch of anecdotal experience, but there's a reason they haven't, like, because they've done, like, people are like, oh my God, it's caused erectile dysfunction. Then they did huge meta-analysis and they're like, oh no, actually anxiety is the #1 predictor of erectile dysfunction. So porn, the three biggest things that make you most likely to be addicted to porn is moral incongruence, anxiety, depression, like, and then actually narcissism. So there's like all these things that they're finding. And yes, I'm not saying porn is for everybody. If you're already depressed, if you're already socially secluded, then that's different. But I would feel like, just like alcohol, the majority of people are able to use alcohol in a way that's, you know, conducive with living a happy, healthy life. And same thing, if you're watching porn 10 hours a night, I would say no. But if you're doing it, you know, every now and then, like you're getting
that was actually stupid of me to say that.
I don't think alcohol is damaging to you.
This microphone. Barbie, you're not wrong. That was dumb as fuck, actually, for me to say that. She's like, with her sitting here, because it's a tool, like, what the fuck is gambling? Sometimes I just don't think. Okay, forgive me.
I had Bilzerian on in here a couple times. He's a good friend of mine, and he was talking about this one issue where it was like he would get to a point where nothing tasted good to him, nothing was exciting to him. He had what's called dopamine fatigue. He was realistically understanding that. And he told me, it was like, dude, I'm gonna shave my beard and go work at fucking Walmart. Like I'm gonna be worth $1 billion and I'm gonna go work at Walmart to like reset my dopamine receptors. And it's like he got to that point. And I'm not just talking about pornography.
Yeah, like Huberman, when he says like, oh, you know, if you drink coffee before going to the gym, maybe stop it at some point so you can. So I agree with all that. But
pre-workout keeps getting harder.
That's not the way people talk about porn addiction. People are like, oh my God, it's like fentanyl, and you.
So I mean,
I don't want to. You should cut into.
So I'm just trying to put it. That's what I want to do today, is kind of put it in perspective. He talks about it's a pornography. This is from it's Dopamine Nation is the book. Pornography is a potent stimulus. It sets a threshold for dopamine release, but then you drop below the threshold afterwards. And that's when you get people, again, not just talking about pornography, other things where you start feeling like, I'll be honest with you, if I ever get to a point where I have a threesome and afterwards I'm like, yeah, that was okay. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to like, my life sucks now. I want to appreciate the fact that I see a beautiful day or have a terrific cheeseburger. I don't ever want those things to get passé.
I agree with that. So same thing, like if you're and like he said, you're drinking coffee or you're doing something to increase your dopamine levels, be careful with it. Like take back. Like,
okay, guys,
do it in moderation.
We covered all of it out of order, but it's hot in here. This mic, I'm gonna try to figure out what I can do about. I'm gonna try to go possibly look at a used one or something. Maybe I can get it fixed. Like the video, comment, subscribe.